Hi guys, it's Christine. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Fairy Tale by Stephen King. The basic story is you've got a young kid who lives in a neighborhood. There is an old creepy house with an old grumpy man who lives there. One day he falls off his ladder. Charlie goes to help him because he hears his dog Radar barking, and he goes and helps him. They form a friendship, and over the course of time, one thing leads to another, and whoops, there's a portal to a fantasy world hidden in the guy's shed. So I enjoyed the story. Like, that's a neat idea. But the thing with Stephen King is, and I'm going to have to give you a little bit of a history with my relationship to his books. So I read Stephen King starting in high school, and I fell in love with the writing because if you can say nothing else about the guy, he knows how to write a story. He knows how to get you to really turn those pages. He's very good at it, and I will not deny that. He's always been a good writer in that regard. Like, it's, his stories are entertaining and they're page turners and they're very cinematic, a lot of them, which I think is, obviously why so many of them get made into movies. The thing is, I started to fall out of love with Stephen King a little bit after The Dark Tower. I feel like at that point, some of his books started to fall off a bit. I don't know if it's just age or if it was, when he got hit by a car, things changed for him or something. I don't really know, but something about his books, they just didn't have the same appeal as they used to. They were still good, still page turners, but just not as good. I read 11/24/63. Is that what it's called? The one about the JFK assassination. And I liked it, but I didn't find it to be as amazing as a lot of people seem to think. Like, that one, most people really, really like that. It makes it into a lot of people's top 10 of Stephen King of all time. I wouldn't put it up there. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was fantastic. So yeah, things started to drop off around that point for me. Where things took a really hard turn is with Mr. Mercedes. I read that one and I didn't love it. It was fine, but it was just, I don't know, it just wasn't great. But the thing that really bothered me about it was I can't remember the character's name because it's been a long time since I read it, but there is a character who is helping Bill Hodges, or Hodgins is the main character, and he's sort of, investigating this incident that happens. And he's got like a neighbor who is helping him, and he's like this young black kid. I don't know if he's like a teenager or if he's in his 20s, but he's, on the younger side. And he talks to him with this really ridiculous, over the top, Amos and Andy kind of mumbo jumbo, like massa kind of language. It just made me so uncomfortable reading it. I don't think as a white writer you should be writing characters like that. I don't think it's your place to say, oh, well, it's okay because the character thinks it's funny and he's black. Yeah, but he came from you, man. Like, that's not okay. It made me really uncomfortable. I did not like that at all. So that almost put the nail in the coffin. And then the next one I read after that was Revival. And oh my God, I hated it so much that I was just like, okay, we're done. I can't read anymore Stephen King for a while. This is just, he has lost his touch. So I stopped after Revival. Hadn't read any Stephen King in years. And then everybody on TikTok and, Instagram and YouTube was talking about fairy tales. So I thought, okay, I'll dip my toe back in. I will give it a shot. And I did like it. It's a good story. Did I love it? No. I just feel that Stephen King has, somewhere along the line, he has lost the magic. And although he's still a great writer, the books just don't have the impact that something like The Dead Zone or It or The Shining had back in high school when I was reading them. Now, maybe it's me having grown up. Maybe it's him. His writing style has just fallen off a bit. It's probably both. But didn't I didn't really connect with a lot of the characters in this one. And I think one reason is I do feel like Stephen King needs to write what you know. That is the golden rule of writing. And don't have your main character be a teenager if you're not going to write him as a teenager, because this kid doesn't text anybody, but he emails. Okay, does he work in an office? Is he 45? Because that's not how teenagers behave. He doesn't sound like a teenager when he talks to his friends. He doesn't act like a teenager when he interacts with the other people around him. It just didn't feel right to me. There's a scene in the school involving a lady who works in the office, and she's talking about Howdy Doody. Like, this book is set in 2015. Like, is she 80 and she works in a school still? Like, Howdy Doody is not a thing that people reference or would know about anymore. I mean, they might know about it. Like, I know about Howdy Doody, but like, apart from it being a kids show from the 50s where the guy, I think, was a cowboy, that's the extent of it, I don't know more than that. And I just feel like his references are very outdated for these characters that he is writing in the present day. So, yeah, if he could stop doing that, that would be great. Another point is we again have a non-white character who talks about things that racist language and just laughs it off. It's fine. His best friend is Andy Chen, who's on the baseball team with him, and their coach calls him the Yellow Menace. Again, I just don't think it's okay for you as a white writer to write something like that. I just don't. Like, just don't, man. It makes me so uncomfortable reading it. I'm like, okay, can we please skip past that part? I don't want to. I didn't like that at all. So there's that. Now, I did enjoy the story. Like, once he discovers the portal to the fantasy world and he goes down, and it's like a well in this guy's shed, and he goes down, he comes out into this other dimension, I guess, because there is a sky and there's two moons and whatever else. And I really liked that story. It did drag at times. There were times where it was like, okay, can we get something else happening? Because this is kind of getting boring. So yeah, it wasn't great, but I did enjoy the story. Like, it's 600 pages, it's not small. And I read it pretty quickly. Like, it's a good page turner. Stephen King has referred to himself as the literary equivalent of a Big Mac and fries. And honestly, yeah, but sometimes that's exactly what you want. So I think it's good. It's a good story. It's a page turner. This particular edition has cool like illustrations throughout it. Let me see if I can find one. So you've got like illustrations at the beginning of each like sort of chunk of chapters. Yeah, I liked the story, but it did drag and there were drawbacks at times. And also, I just found the resolution was it just felt a little flat. I don't know. Parts of it were really great. There were things that were in it that were very cinematic. And I am sure this will get turned into a movie because they all do, or, TV series or something. And I'm sure it will be good. But because he does write very cinematic stories, like you can very much visualize them. So, yeah. If you like Stephen King, you'll probably like this one. If you haven't read Stephen King, I don't know that I would start with this one because, again, I just find that his writing now just doesn't quite compare to how it used to be. Like, I will go and read Cujo 1,000 times over before I read another Bill Hodges mystery. It just, I don't know. I really like his older works. And that's probably partly me. I just think that I am maybe past the Stephen King portion of my reading. I will still go back and read the ones that I love The Stand. I love The Dead Zone, like I said. I love Cujo. You know, those are all great books and they're page turners and I love them. He's certainly not a bad writer. He's still, you know, got an awful lot of talent and he does have a very distinctive style that is very readable. Um, but I just don't think this one was as good as a lot of people feel. I think if Stephen King would start writing, you know, things that he knows a little bit more. So anyway, I really like this cover. I think this really is a just, I don't know, I love the colors of it, and then, you know, the red in the middle, it kind of looks like an eye. You've got Charlie here and Radar here. Radar is the dog who is very much a cool character in the book. There were a couple of other options. I've seen quite a few covers, different covers for this book actually. And I had the option of a different one that was sort of like a rose or something. But I like this cover more. I like the gold lettering. I like the blue background and the red. And it, like I said, it looks like an eye. I like this picture a lot more than the other cover that I saw. This one was a few bucks more, but I was like, yeah, it's worth it if I can get a cover that I really like. So yeah, that is it for me with Stephen King. I think I'm going back on my hiatus. I'm not gonna, you know, never say never. I'm sure I'll read him again one day. But for now, I think if I'm going to read Stephen King, I'll go back and read the ones that I know that I love. So yeah, Fairy Tale by Stephen King. If you love Stephen King, you'll probably like this. If you have never read Stephen King, I maybe wouldn't start with this one, but it is good. You know, it's just a fun page turner. It's not much more than that, and Stephen King needs to stop writing what he doesn't know. But, you know, that aside, it was still a fun story. I still enjoyed reading it.